The question no one in that valley could answer was simple. Why did a lone Chinese woman walk out of a frozen forest at night, carrying nothing, and still refuse to die? The wind cut across the Wyoming hills like a blade. It bent the grass flat, rattled the loose boards of a small ranch house, and carried a faint sound through the dark. Not a scream, not a cry. Just the slow drag of footsteps. Coulter Prescott stopped mid-motion on the porch. His hand tightened around the tin cup. He listened. Step. Pause. Step. Something was coming out of the trees. He set the cup down and stood. The lantern behind him cast a dull glow across the yard, just enough to catch movement between the trunks. A figure. Small. Unsteady. The shape stumbled forward, then caught itself on a broken branch. Closer now, close enough to see the bare feet. Blood smeared across frost. Coulter stepped off the porch, boots crunching slow. The figure lifted her head. A young woman. Her hair hung in dark strands, stiff with dirt. Her eyes, sharp, narrow, caught the light for a second before dropping again. Her clothes were wrong for this land, a torn hanfu beneath a worn coat that barely held together. She swayed. Her lips moved. "I am not worth your trouble." The words came slow, measured, like each one cost something. Coulter stopped a few feet away. He didn't reach for her, didn't speak right away. The wind filled the space between them. She took one more step. Her knee buckled. "I am dirty," she said, quieter now. "Poor, and barely standing." Coulter looked at her. Really looked. Not the dirt. Not the blood. The way she held herself upright, even as her body failed. He exhaled once. "So was I," he said. A pause. Then, softer. "Come inside." She didn't answer. Her body gave out before she could. Coulter caught her just before she hit the ground. She weighed almost nothing. When she opened her eyes, the world felt smaller. Wood walls, low ceiling, firelight moving across rough beams. She didn't move at first, only listened. A spoon scraping metal, water shifting in a pot. Someone breathing. She turned her head. The man from the porch sat near the fire. Back straight, hands steady. He didn't look at her right away. "You're awake," he said. Not a question. She pushed herself up slightly. Pain ran through her ribs. Her breath caught, then slowed. He stood, walked over, held out a cup. Water. She reached. Her hands shook. He didn't comment, just steadied the cup until she drank. A few sips, then she lowered it. "My name is Mei Lin," she said. The words came clearer now, still quiet, still controlled. Coulter nodded once. "Coulter Prescott." He stepped back, gave her space again. No questions, no pressure. Only the fire crackling between them. Morning came slow, light slipping through the single window. Mei Lin sat at the edge of the bed. Her feet were wrapped in clean cloth. The cut stung, but the bleeding had stopped. She tested her weight. Winced. Stayed standing anyway. Outside, she found him by the well, pulling water with steady rhythm. He glanced at her. "You shouldn't be up yet." "I am not made of glass," she said. He studied her for a second, then nodded. "Fair enough." He handed her a second bucket. She took it without hesitation. Her grip was firm now, even if her steps were not. They worked in silence, water sloshing, rope creaking, wind moving soft across the open land. After a while, he spoke. "Where'd you come from?" Mei Lin didn't answer right away. She set the bucket down, wiped her hands slowly on her coat. "A wagon," she said. "South Road." A pause. "Men came at night." Her jaw tightened. Her eyes didn't shift. "They took everything that could not run." Coulter didn't interrupt, didn't offer comfort, only listened. "I ran," she added. That was all. No more. He nodded once. That was enough. Later that day, she sat by the door, needle in hand, thread pulled tight between her fingers. One of his shirts rested in her lap, torn along the seam. She worked slowly, precise, every stitch placed with care. Coulter leaned against the wall nearby, watching without making it obvious. "You don't have to do that," he said. "I know." She didn't look up. "But I can." The needle moved again, clean, even. "You always fix things?" he asked. "Only what I can reach," she replied. He let out a low breath, almost a laugh. That night, the wind returned. Stronger. It pushed against the cabin walls, whistled through the cracks. Mei Lin lay awake, eyes open, listening. Not to the storm, to something else. A habit that had not left her yet. Every shift of wood, every sound outside. Her hand moved slightly under the blanket, closing into a fist. Across the room, Coulter noticed. He didn't speak, didn't get up. He simply took a piece of wood, placed it deeper into the fire. The flame grew stronger, the light steadier. She watched it, her breathing slowed, not fully calm, but no longer sharp. The next morning, she stood in the barn. A horse shifted in its stall, large, restless. Mei Lin stepped closer, slow, measured. Her hand lifted, stopped just short. The horse snorted, ears twitching. She waited. Then, gently, she placed her palm against its neck. The animal stilled. Coulter watched from the doorway. "You've done that before," he said. She nodded slightly. "Back home." He leaned against the frame. "China?" "Yes." No hesitation, no explanation either. He accepted it, like everything else. Days passed. Her steps grew steadier. Her voice didn't. Still quiet, still careful, but her hands never stopped moving, fixing, mending, building small order from what was broken. Coulter didn't ask her to stay, didn't ask her to leave. He simply made space and let her decide what to do with it. One evening, as the sun dropped behind the hills, she stood outside the cabin, watching the sky turn from gold to gray. Coulter stepped beside her. "You planning to keep heading west?" he asked. Mei Lin didn't answer right away. Her eyes stayed on the horizon. "There is always somewhere else," she said. A pause, but not always a reason to go. He nodded, didn't push further. That night, long after the fire burned low, a sound came from the far edge of the property. Not wind, not wood. Something sharper. A crack. Distant, but clear. Mei Lin's eyes opened instantly, her body already moving before thought caught up. Across the room, Coulter was on his feet, both of them listening now. The silence that followed felt wrong. Too still. Then, another crack, closer this time. Coulter reached for his rifle. Mei Lin didn't ask questions. She was already standing beside him, barefoot on the cold floor. The past had not stayed behind her. It had followed. And now, it had found the door. The third crack did not sound like the first two. Closer. Lower. Wood splintering somewhere beyond the barn. Coulter moved first, rifle in hand. Steps quiet but fast. Mei Lin followed without a word. Her feet made no sound against the ground. The cold bit hard, but she did not slow. They reached the barn. The door hung slightly open. A hinge bent. Coulter raised his hand. Stopped. Listened. Inside, something shifted. A boot scraping straw. Not an animal. A man. Coulter pushed the door wider. Slow. The lantern light spilled inside. 3 figures. Coats dark with travel. Faces half covered. One of them turned. Eyes sharp. Then, recognition. "You," the man said. His voice cut straight through the space. Not at Coulter. At Mei Lin. Her body stilled. Only for a second. Then her shoulders straightened. She stepped forward. Not behind Coulter. Beside him. The man smiled. Thin. Crooked. "Thought the wolves got you." Mei Lin did not answer. Her gaze held steady. Her breathing slow. Controlled. Coulter shifted slightly. Rifle still raised. "Leave," he said. The man ignored him. His eyes stayed on Mei Lin. "She runs fast," he said to the others, "but not far enough." One of the men moved toward the stall. The horse kicked hard against the wood. Panic building. Coulter took a step forward. "That's close enough." The man in front raised his hand slightly, not surrendering, just showing he wasn't reaching yet. "We're not here for you," he said. Coulter didn't lower the rifle. "You're here. That makes it my problem." A pause. The wind pushed against the barn walls. The lantern flickered. Mei Lin spoke. "They followed the wagon," she said, her voice steady. "They took what they wanted." Her eyes moved between them. Then they looked for what was left. The man laughed once. Short. "She left something out," he said. Coulter didn't look away from him. "What?" The man's smile faded. "Money," he said. A beat. Hidden. Silence. The horse shifted again, breathing heavy. Coulter's grip tightened. "You picked the wrong place," he said. The man's gaze flicked to the rifle, then to Mei Lin. "Didn't think you'd make it this far," he said. She didn't respond, but her hand moved slightly, fingers curling, not shaking. Ready. The second man lunged first. Too fast. Too close. Coulter fired. The shot cracked through the barn. Loud. Sharp. The man dropped hard into the straw. The others froze. For a second. Then everything moved at once. The third man rushed for the side door. Coulter turned. Fired again. Missed. The door burst open. Cold air slammed inside. Footsteps fading into the dark. The first man grabbed for his weapon. Mei Lin stepped in. Faster than he expected. Her hand struck his wrist. Hard. The gun fell. She kicked it away. Clean. Precise. He stumbled back, surprised. Not by force, by timing. Coulter closed the distance. The rifle pressed against the man's chest. "Don't," he said. The man stopped, breathing rough, eyes darting, calculating, then meddling. "Fine," he muttered. Coulter didn't lower the weapon. "Outside." They dragged him into the yard. The cold hit harder now. The sky dark, clouds rolling fast. Mei Lin stood a few steps away, watching. The man looked between them, then at her. "You think this ends here?" he said. She didn't react. He laughed again. "There's more of us," he added. "Always is." Coulter tightened his grip on the rifle. "You won't be telling them anything." The man's jaw clenched. "You kill me, they'll still come." Coulter didn't answer. Mei Lin stepped forward, her voice quiet. "They will come anyway." The man's eyes flicked to her. "You know that," she added. A pause. The wind carried loose snow across the ground. Coulter exhaled slowly, then struck. The rifle butt hit the man's temple. He dropped. Unconscious. Not dead. Not yet. They moved him to the shed, tied his hands, secured the door. Coulter checked the knots twice, then stepped back. Mei Lin stood near the wall, still, watching. "You should rest," he said. She shook her head. "They are not finished." He met her gaze. Neither was he. Back inside, the fire had burned low. Coulter added wood. The flames climbed again. Light filled the room. Mei Lin stood near the table. Her hands rested on the surface. Flat. Steady. "You knew them," Coulter said. Not a question. She nodded once. "They watched the wagons before they struck." Her eyes lowered slightly. "They choose the weak places." Coulter leaned against the wall. "You weren't a weak place." She looked up. "No," she said. A pause. "But I was alone." Silence filled the space. Heavy, not empty. He poured water into a cup, set it in front of her. She didn't reach for it right away. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked. She met his eyes. "You did not ask." He let out a breath. Short, not sharp. "Fair enough." She picked up the cup, drank slowly, then set it down. "They will come back," she said. Coulter nodded. "I figured." She studied him. "You will not leave." It wasn't a question. "No," he said. A beat. "You?" Her fingers rested lightly on the table. She didn't move them. "No." A soft engagement moment settled in the quiet, not spoken directly, but felt. Two people standing in the same space, not by chance anymore, by choice. The night stretched long. Neither of them slept. Coulter cleaned the rifle, checked the rounds, set them in a neat line. Mei Lin sat by the fire, her gaze steady, watching the flame shift and bend, listening. Always listening. Near dawn, the man in the shed stirred. A dull thud against wood. Coulter stood immediately, rifle in hand. Mei Lin rose beside him. They stepped outside together, the sky just beginning to pale, the world holding its breath. Inside the shed, the man's voice came low. "You don't understand what you've stepped into." Coulter opened the door. Slow. The man looked up, eyes clearer now. "You think this land is yours?" he said. His gaze shifted to Mei Lin. "You think you can hide here?" She stepped forward. Just enough. "I am not hiding," she said. The man smirked. "Then you're waiting." A pause. "For what?" Coulter asked. The man leaned back against the wall. "For them to find you, Manand." Cold. Still. Then, from the far hills, a distant shape moved. Small, but growing. Another rider. Then another. Then more. Coulter's jaw tightened. Mei Lin's eyes narrowed. The past had not come alone. It had brought an army. The riders did not rush. They came slow, measured, like men who believed the ground already belonged to them. Coulter stood at the edge of the yard, rifle steady, breath even. Mei Lin moved beside him. Not behind. Never behind. The first rider stopped just beyond the fence line. Then the others spread out, forming a wide arc, cutting off every path. 8 men, maybe more behind them, watching, waiting. The man in the shed laughed once. Low. "You see now," he called out. Coulter didn't turn, didn't answer. His eyes stayed on the riders. The leader stepped forward, older, scar along his cheek. His coat hung heavy with dust. His gaze landed on Mei Lin. Stayed there. "You've caused trouble," he said. Her posture did not shift. "You followed it here," she replied. The man tilted his head slightly, a faint smile. "Fair." His eyes moved to Coulter. "And you," he added. "You don't belong in this." Coulter's grip on the rifle didn't change. "Looks like I do now." The man let out a breath through his nose, then gestured slightly. 2 riders moved forward. Coulter raised the rifle higher. "They take one more step, I start dropping them." The men stopped. The leader watched him, studying, measuring. Then his gaze returned to Mei Lin. "Where is it?" he asked. She didn't answer. A long second passed. Wind brushed across the yard. Cold. Sharp. The leader's voice lowered. "You don't walk out of something like that empty." Mei Lin's hands stayed still at her sides. "There is nothing left," she said. He smiled again, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Then we'll take our time." The standoff stretched. Seconds felt longer. The men shifted in their saddles, hands near weapons, waiting for the smallest mistake. Coulter leaned slightly toward Mei Lin, quiet enough that only she heard. "Back door," he said. "On my mark." She didn't look at him, didn't nod, but her breathing changed. Barely. The leader lifted his hand, a signal. The riders began to spread wider, closing in, slow, careful. Coulter fired. The shot broke the silence clean. One rider fell from the saddle, the rest scattered. Gunfire answered instantly. Wood splintered. Dust kicked from the ground. Mei Lin moved. Fast. She didn't run. She cut across the yard toward the barn. Low. Precise. Coulter fired again, then stepped back toward the house, keeping their line. Shots cracked from every side. The cabin wall took the impact. Fragments flew. The air filled with sharp noise and smoke. Inside the barn, Mei Lin moved to the far stall. Her hands reached beneath loose boards, pulled free a small cloth bundle. Hidden. Not large, but heavy enough to matter. She turned. A shadow filled the doorway. One of the riders, closer than the rest. Gun raised. She didn't hesitate. The shovel leaned against the wall. Her hand grabbed it, swung hard. The metal struck his arm. The gun fired wide. He stumbled. She stepped in again. The second strike hit his shoulder. He dropped, breathing broken, not moving. Mei Lin stepped past him, back into the open. Coulter saw her. Relief didn't show on his face, but his stance shifted, stronger, more certain. She crossed toward him, holding the bundle tight. He glanced at it once, then back to the riders. "Figured there was something," he said. "No time," she replied. The leader dismounted. Slow, deliberate. Boots hitting the ground. He drew his weapon, walked forward alone. Confidence in every step. "You should have run," he said. Coulter didn't lower his rifle. "Too late for that." The man stopped a few yards away. His eyes moved between them, then had settled on the bundle in Mei Lin's hands. "There it is." Mei Lin stepped forward, just one pace, putting herself in clear view. Her voice stayed calm. "You will not take it." The man raised his gun. "And you won't stop me." The world narrowed. No wind. No sound beyond breath and distant movement. Coulter shifted. "Ready." The man's finger tightened. Mei Lin moved first. She threw the bundle. Not away. Not behind. Straight toward the leader. He caught it without thinking. Instinct. For a split second. His focus broke. Coulter fired. The shot landed clean. The leader staggered, dropped to one knee. The bundle fell from his hands. Mei Lin closed the distance. Her foot struck the weapon aside. Coulter stepped forward. Rifle steady. The remaining riders hesitated. Leader down. Plan broken. Their eyes shifted. Uncertain. Coulter's voice cut through. "Leave!" No anger. No shout. Just final. The men looked at each other. Then one turned his horse. Another followed. Within seconds, they were pulling back. Fast, not looking over their shoulders. Gone. The yard fell still. Only the sound of breathing remained. Coulter lowered the rifle slowly. Mei Lin stood where she was, the bundle at her feet, unopened. He looked at her. "You could have run," he said. She met his gaze. "So could you." A beat. Neither moved. He bent down, picked up the bundle, turned it once in his hands, then handed it back to her. "What is it?" he asked. She took it, held it close. "Enough to make men cross mountains," she said. He nodded. Didn't ask more. The sun began to rise, light spreading across the hills, touching the cabin, the barn, the ground where everything had nearly ended. Mei Lin stood facing the horizon, the same direction she had come from. Coulter stepped beside her, not speaking, not needing to. After a long moment, she turned, looked at the house, then at him. "I will stay," she said. Simple. Clear. He gave a small nod. "Good." Behind them, the shed door creaked. The captured man stirred again, a low groan breaking the quiet. Coulter glanced back, then toward the hills. Tracks still fresh in the dirt. More could come, at any time. Mei Lin followed his gaze. Her fingers tightened slightly around the cloth bundle. The past had not finished with them. Not yet. The wind returned, soft this time, moving through the grass, carrying the faint sound of distant hooves, or something else entirely. Coulter lifted the rifle again, not in panic, in readiness. Mei Lin stepped closer to him, side by side, facing the open land, waiting.